The online community is warning that data from period tracking apps could be used by law enforcement in investigating abortions in states that have outlawed those procedures. Menstruation and fertility apps contain data such as when a period starts, stops, or is interrupted. Some apps allow users to track what they're eating, drinking, and feeling during their period, as well as their location. For more on this, I want to bring in Alexandra Reeve Givens. She is the president and CEO of the Center for Democracy and Technology. The organization focuses on the rights of the individual in relation to technical policy. Alexandra, thanks for being here. So if a person is seeking an abortion, can their data in period tracking apps actually be used against them? It sounds insane in some ways, and yet we're starting to hear that might actually be a concern.
It is. It's an area of real concern. And the reason is period tracking apps are just regular commercial services. And so there is a real concern about that information being shared in general for advertising purposes or other commercial purposes. And we really need to think about those protections as we go forward.
A popular period tracking app called Flow announced last Friday that it will be launching an anonymous mode that can help keep users' data safe in such circumstances. Tell us how that works.
That's a really good announcement to see, and we want to see more announcements like that. Some of the things that users will want to look out for is whether they have to share personally identifiable information when they download or use an app. But you also want to ask other questions as well. First of all, do you need the app in the first place, or is this an example where a good old-fashioned pen and paper or a calendar or even just a notepad app on your phone might be more useful instead? You then also want to ask other questions like, will the information you share be stored locally on your phone so you can control it and delete it? Anonymization is important too. And then we really want to look at whether those apps are sharing information with third parties. That is one of the big concerns because that information can get sold and shared out to third-party data brokers. And then it's really hard to control what happens next.
Since medication used to treat women who have suffered a miscarriage is also being used, it's the same medicine, rather, that can be used for medical abortions. Are women in danger of having their privacy compromised as authority figures might be looking to investigate illegal abortions?
Yeah, this is one of the real concerns here is that many people could get caught up in the type of data investigations that are incentivized by some of the new laws being discussed. One important thing to note, if you look at the Texas statute that's been the coverage of so much news recently, is that they care not only about state prosecutions, but they also deputize private citizens to bring lawsuits against people who are seeking abortions or aiding and abetting them. And that creates whole new incentives for people to be looking at information. It means you need to think not just about those period apps, but your web traffic, your browsing history, your search history, the content of communications, and of course, your device can also reveal your location. So people need to pay attention to their location settings to turn those off. And also, frankly, we need the companies doing a better job protecting this data and refusing to collect it in the first place so that their users can be protected.
We know that many women have been turning to telehealth for abortion services. Medical consultations in those cases occur over the phone or on the computer. How private are these conversations?
So conversations with medical providers are more protected. There is a law called HIPAA. Many of us remember signing those forms when you go to a doctor's office that does entitle you to heightened protections. But you still need to be careful, and those telemedicine providers still need to be careful too. And the reason is, for some of them, on their websites, when you go to book an appointment, you may still be sharing private information about the purpose of that appointment, the time and scheduling of that appointment. And sometimes those providers allow third-party ad trackers on those sites too that can gather up that information and share it. So it's yet another reason why companies need to take this as a major wake-up call to examine their data practices. And we as consumers and advocates like my organization need to help hold them to account.
Yeah, I think there are women who use these telehealth or these tracking apps that may not be interested in abortions, but are still horrified to hear that their private information might become public or be shared. What advice do you give to people from all of these different aspects of life who are concerned about these tracking apps?
It's such a great point, and I do think this is a real risk that many people will be caught up in the dragnet, and really that it's a wake-up call for all of us for something that privacy advocates have been saying for a long time, that there is just too much sensitive data being collected and shared without effective regulation or oversight. So for those people who are worried about these questions, I would say spend time looking at the privacy settings on your phone. You want to go into those general settings and look about when your location is being shared, what apps have access to that information. You want to look at third-party ad tracking, which in some phones you can also control through your phone's operating system as well. And then even though those terms of services are annoying and hard to read, they matter. You want to look for companies that are competing for your trust. That means they're giving you guarantees that they don't sell or share that data. You can also go to good sites like Consumer Reports and some of the other really important kind of coverage that's happened out there to help users make more informed choices about companies that have good practices to protect their users' data.
Okay, Alexandra Reeve Givens, thank you.
Thank you.